Today we will talk about a work by BAOSHI, one of my favorite Chinese artists, actually my number one, my personal number one. This work here is dated 1963. BAOSHI lived from 1904 to 1965, so he painted this 2 years before his death. It's one of his most praised and most beloved and most prominent subjects because it compares the sheer existence of human nature with nature itself. And it depicts a scholar who's standing in front of a waterfall. He's standing here. What is notable is besides the amazing concept of this design, which shows the scholar in sheer awe in front of this enormously large, dominant, and of course very noisy waterfall. Anyone who's stand at such a outpost in front of a waterfall knows that you can't understand your own word because it's so loud. The way BAOSHI painted this is by using various shades of black and gray ink and scratching them a little bit and moving them around and then both fine and bold brush strokes that go in all directions. It looks random, but the longer you look at it, the more you understand that it's not random at all. It's actually extremely precise, unusually precise, and he got more and more precise with his age. Of course, he's been copied by very prominent artists, most and foremost Chang Da-chan, who was a known copier of BAOSHI, but also other artists. So at some point, he developed a little hallmark, which is very difficult to copy, and that is the scholar himself. He's extremely small. You can see here, this is my finger, and if you put it here, it has literally the size of a fingertip. But when you enlarge it 10 or 20 times on your screen, you can see it's extremely well painted in the fraction of a millimeter part. And he used that to show that his technical skills are so strong that it's literally impossible to copy him. Of course, there's many copies around. The more you look at the originals, the worse the copies look, generally. He's really hard to copy. But we compare with two works that have sold at auction recently that are closely related. One that is a bit smaller with 69 by 33 centimeters. It sold for 100,000 euros at Christie's Hong Kong, and then another one which is larger and I think also a bit earlier that sold for a lot more, as you can see. I like this one because it's actually quite small, so it fits everywhere, and it's so expressionist and so detailed. Also, the quality of the calligraphy here is really, really nice in comparison. Fits perfectly into the painting. Also, the two seals. Overall, I'm very proud that we have this masterpiece in the sale because it's very hard to find really good work by BAOSHI. And I think the estimate 15 to 30,000 euros is quite reasonable. It doesn't have a reserve, so it will sell. And it's also important to note that this subject has been developed by the artist 2 decades before this was actually painted. During the time when he lived in Chongqing, where he had a lot of contact with nature and developed some designs to put mankind in stark contrast with nature. It's one part that really made him famous back in those days. BAOSHI's family later recalled this time in a letter where it was stated Jingangpo, the place where they lived, was a typically mountain district of Sichuan province, and villages are scattered in layers of mountains and hills. and where the streams and the bamboo groves and nature in general, mountains and hills, create an atmosphere with fog and mist that is very characteristic for this region and which permeates the air, and really causing one to lose their direction. And I think this specific moment in the time and the life of the artist is what inspired him to make this image, losing oneself into the mists and fogs and the events of nature. That's what happened to this scholar who is standing here so small in front of the waterfall. It has very good provenance history. It's from the collection of Yang Qiling from Singapore, who was one of a group of the 4 major collectors of Chinese paintings and calligraphies in Singapore, who had over 1,000 works, mostly calligraphy, but some very important paintings, such as the present lot, in his collection.